race fans, and welcome back to the Ohio Dirt Track Podcast. My name is Flint.
And I'm Jacob.
I am happy to be back in Ohio. While I was out last week, I understand that Jacob and Derek took care of things very well without me. Are you guys going to kick me off the show, Jacob?
To be determined. Okay. We'll see how this week goes. We'll see who gets started off the island.
So we are still in different places. I'm on the road today, and Jacob is over in Crawford County as well, and then Robin is still engineering sound and recording the podcast for us today remotely through St. Pete District Studios. As always, we really appreciate our sponsor making this happen for us. So we're not physically coming from St. Pete District Studio this week, but we are technically coming from St. Pete District Studio. So thanks to Robin for making that happen. Feel free to reach out to Robin for your recording needs at robinrecorder@gmail.com. So before we get on the phone with our guest this week, we want to give a couple of results from the local area points championships and things like that. Jacob, what happened last weekend in Ohio?
So last weekend we had Fremont points championship night. Buddy Kofoid was leading by about 9 points going into the night, and Buddy ended up finishing third in the race, which DJ Toos won. So Buddy had to finish third if he wanted to win the points championship. So Buddy ended up winning the Fremont points championship by 2 points over DJ Toos. But DJ, the week prior, had won the AFCS championship by just a few points over Buddy. So those two are definitely the class of the field almost all year long, and it's good seeing both of them get their championships.
That DJ always with a good showing, and Buddy, who was a rising star in Ohio after his experience out in California and then in New Zealand as well. Or Australia. I am also excited to see where he goes from here, as he's, in social media, he's pretty much opened it up that he's looking for a traveling team.
Mm-hmm. So it's crazy to think that he doesn't have any solid plans for 2020. I think it was Denny Hamlin a few weeks ago at the NASCAR race at Bristol after he ended up taking the win over Matt DiBenedetto, but he basically said, all of you car racers are done if you don't hire Matt DiBenedetto. And I kind of feel like the same way with Buddy. It's like, man, Buddy is one of the next big stars of the sport. So, but I think he'll find something pretty solid for 2020.
If you're not familiar with Buddy Kofoid, we had him on the show earlier this year. You go back, I think it was probably episode 6 or 7. We got the chance to talk to him, and then we caught up with him in the pits a little bit later. So a solid showing for both DJ and Buddy over the last few weeks, and be interesting here at the end of the season to find out where Buddy's where the road will take Buddy. So, and what do we got coming up this weekend in Ohio? Where are you headed this weekend, Jacob?
This weekend, Fremont has the Jim Ford Classic Friday and Saturday night with, I think it's a Fast Series sanction this year. So I'll be at Fremont Friday and Saturday night, Saturday being $10,000 to win. So that's definitely a huge show. There should be quite a few cars coming in for that, just from all over the place. And with the All-Stars out in Pennsylvania, the Outlaws, I think, out in Kansas this weekend, it's going to be mainly local guys and some invaders. So it'll be nice seeing one of the smaller teams, per se, take home that big check. But there's also Wayne County's Fall Blowout, I think is what they call it, Friday and Saturday. They have sprint cars on Saturday there. I think it's OVSCA for about $3,000 to win. And then Sharon Speedway over in Eastern Ohio has their Apple Festival Nationals Friday and Saturday as well. So I think they have the sprint cars $3,000 to win on Saturday. So 3 big shows really in Ohio, Friday and Saturday, with sprint cars on the docket 3 nights or for 3 shows on Saturday.
I think that Wayne County show has 4 or 5 classes on the docket. Late models and the mini stocks as well, which are always fun to watch.
Mm-hmm. They're probably, over the course of the weekend, they're probably running 6 or 7 different classes. I know they have like a Never Have I Ever Won late model race on Friday night. So they definitely have lots of racing going on this weekend.
So this is, as I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, this is this is when the season comes to a close, which is kind of sad. But one of the interesting parts about this season in Ohio is you catch a local show, and then you can get home and catch one of the national tour. And if it's the World of Outlaws, if you're watching online, you still see the end of that because they're headed to another time zone. So if you are a true, if you're a real diehard race fan, you can catch it in person, then get home and catch it online as well.
Mm-hmm. And I remember just a couple weeks ago, it was the Tuscarora 50 weekend. I had speed shifts and I watched the heat races for Tuscarora 50 over in Pennsylvania. And then as soon as those got done, I watched the MOA Sprint heat races from Spoon River Speedway in Illinois. And then as soon as those were done, I got to watch maybe I got back to the Tuscarora 50. And then once the Tuscarora 50 feature and the MOA feature were over, I got to watch both of those. I think the Outlaws are just getting started with their heat races out in Washington or California, one of those two. So I ended up getting to watch 3 whole shows in one night. So that's just one of the cool things about the pay-per-view now.
Speaking of watching races online, if you've watched On Dirt, you're guaranteed to recognize this voice that's coming up. If you've been to one of the larger marquee events at Eldora or Mansfield Motor Speedway or anywhere all over the country, you have heard this man's voice. This week, we had the chance to get on the phone with Mr. Dustin Jarrett, veteran late model dirt announcer, and we will get right to the interview here. Here is Dustin Jarrett on the Ohio Dirt Track Podcast. Okay, so we are here on the phone with Mr. Dustin Jarrett, veteran late model announcer. If you have been listening for the last number of years, watching races online, if you've been to a race, chances are you're gonna recognize this voice right from the very get-go. Dustin, how you doing?
I'm good. I didn't know if I should just say I'm good or if I should go into my announcer voice right away with that nice big build-up that you gave me.
Well, that was one option I considered, letting you just kick this off. But we do appreciate you joining us on the phone here on the Ohio Dirt Track Podcast, fresh off a vacation out in Colorado. How was that for you?
It was. I need a vacation from the vacation. I feel like it was great to get away, and then you come back home, and you're like, oh man, I'm like 5 days behind on all of my work. I need to get away for a while. So it was good. And it's the first. It was really and truly the first weekend in I don't even know how long that I did not go to a race somewhere. So I think my wife was more appreciative of that than anything.
Well, I'll tell you this. I think Jacob Horde is on a mission to go to as many races as you do a year. What's your number this year, Jacob?
I'm probably at about between 52 and 55 this year.
And that's just the Ohio season. And one of the things I wanted to mention, Dustin, you were announcing or broadcasting not just in Ohio, but you do some trickling, right?
Yeah, I am all over the place, and I don't. It's funny because every year I tell myself, like, man, I'm really going to back down this year. I'm not going to do as much, and then every year it seems like I just keep on doing more and more. And I don't know if I'm just a glutton for punishment. It's just something that I really and truly enjoy doing. But no, I do. I travel around all over. I mean, some of the other bigger events. Throughout the course of the year, like the Gateway Dirt Nationals at the Dome at American Center in St. Louis, Missouri. So that's actually coming up in December. This coming weekend, we'll be live with Dirt on Dirt at Brownstown Speedway in Brownstown, Indiana. But I've done the USA Nationals at the Cedar Lake, Wisconsin, the Firecracker 100 in at Lernerville Speedway in Pennsylvania, and then every January we do the Wild West Shootout out in Phoenix, Arizona, too. So it really and truly doesn't end, and as you can tell, there's not really an off season anymore either.
Right. If it's snowing or it's cold, we'll just go inside at this point.
Right. Yeah. Go indoors. Go to Phoenix. Go where it's not snowing. Of course. Why not?
So I did want to ask, you are a native of Ohio.
That's right.
And I wanted to work backwards just a little bit. I know you went to college for broadcasting, and I have to ask, did dirt track racing come first, or did broadcasting come first?
No, the dirt track racing life chose me, I think, more so than I chose it. I don't know. I guess when I was in high school, I was like a lot of kids with the hopes and dreams. Like I wanted to be Stuart Scott on Sports Center, or, Scott Van Pelt or something like that, way back in those days. I thought, man, this would be great. I love sports. I love being on TV. That's what I want to do. And then when you get to college, you get this really sober awakening that, man, these dudes, they got to work like 7 days a week, 10, 12 hours a day, and at that time they eat like peanuts. And you're like, ooh, but that's not exactly how I envisioned my career going. So I went through and got the broadcasting degree, and the more I went through college, the more I realized that's maybe a nice mistress to have on the side, but that's not exactly something that I want to be married to. And so I sought out something else. I worked in education for 14 years, and then as things always kind of have a way of circling back around, at the beginning of this year, Michael Rigsby from Dirt on Dirt, he got with me and said, hey, man, we really need to make this happen. And I knew what he was talking about, because he and I had talked for a long time about me coming and working full-time at Dirt on Dirt, not just announcing races for him, but doing some other things with Dirt on Dirt as well. And so we'd talked off and on, really and truly, for the better part of the 13 years the company's been around. And he got with me about a year ago and said, hey, man, we really need to make this happen this time. And finally, his timing worked out, my timing worked out, and I was able to get the Dirt on Dirt gig full time. But the great thing about that is, kind of bringing this back full circle, is that it still allows me to do a lot of the announcing that I do on the side. A lot of these big races we've talked about, like the Dream and the World 100 and things like that.
So you mentioned that you were in education. What were you teaching, or were you working in the schools?
I was for the biggest part of the time, I was actually in college admissions, believe it or not. And so that came about because when I was in college, I was like a tour guide at my school's admissions office. And so I thought, oh, wow, this is really cool. Like I can give tours to people and tell them about the school, and then now I can get a job with this when I graduate. And so that was actually what I did for 14 years. And I kind of worked my way up the ladder, and was actually one of my final positions. I was actually a dean of admissions at a local institution. And it was, to be completely honest, just a very, the world of higher education was evolving faster than I could keep up with. And it was just kind of the right time to step away from that. But it was a lot of fun, and really and truly, there are a lot of similarities, believe it or not, between that and some of the things that you learn in broadcast communications, which is really crazy. You wouldn't think about putting those two things together, but that's the truth of it, man. There's a lot of things actually that go hand in hand with those two things. You would never dream about that, would you?
Yeah, I'm sure that, on a week to week, whether you're, putting a microphone in someone's face and asking them questions, or doing your research to prepare for announcing a race, or whether it's a live broadcast with Dirt on Dirt, there's a lot of that communication. It's just constant communication.
Yeah. Yeah, you're exactly right. It's constant communication. It's sometimes a lot of I don't know if impromptu is the right word, but just being ready on the fly, I guess, because you never know what's going to be thrown out at you in terms of parents asking questions about their students going to college, or on the racing side of things, as you guys know, you never know what you're going to see at a racetrack. You got to be prepared to ask questions.